Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here. I love this beer. We'll call this a Massive Beer Review Classics because this is a classic beer. J.W. Lee's Calvados Cask, 2012. I've reviewed this beer before. I never posted it. Why? I was a little too tipsy. So my buddy Brad, you've known Brad if you've watched my channel for a long time. Super good dude. When I was living in Ashley, PA, me, him, and a friend or two went to a local picnic, like church picnic carnival. For those that don't know what those are in Northeast PA, basically it's Polish food and beer tents. And we ate a bunch of potato pancakes, a bunch of like crappy beer tent beer. I went back to my place, had a couple more beers, got tipsy, and I was like, I want to review this beer. And we reviewed it, and it's on film somewhere. Hopefully I didn't delete it. If I didn't delete it, I'll do you all solid. I'll put it at the end of this video, but it's probably long gone now. Anyway, and it was just, I was gushing over the beer. It was so good that I even, in my slightly tipsy state, I still remembered how good it was. And I just haven't reviewed it since. I've had it before. I picked it up with all the intent of reviewing it, but I haven't. Well, guess what? We're doing it now. This is J.W. Lee's Harvest Ale. The ale matured in Calvados Cask, brewed in 2012. Might have been the same year, too. This fully fermented ale can be enjoyed now or laid down like a fine wine for enjoyment to come. 11.5% alcohol by volume. Done and done. J.W. Lee's. Limited edition. I can find these all over the place. I don't know how it is in the rest of the country or the world or whatever you want to say it, but these J.W. Lee's, these ancient J.W. Lee's, I can find in New Jersey and Pennsylvania on the reg, like all the time. So we're very much no big hiss on this sucker. A spoil of riches over here. So we're going to pour this whole thing in here because it's not even 12 ounces. It's going to be like 11 and change, I assume. Maybe leave a little dregsy on the bottom because there is a decent amount of floaties in this sucker. 9.3 fluid ounces, so not even 11 ounces on this sucker. Not even 10. Not even 9.5. Label-wise, I'm not saying this is a fantastic label. I'm just saying this beer has such a large swath of my heart that I love the labels because I love the beer so much. We would love to have a bit more of a carb on this sucker. Not going to lie to you. But as old / ale / barley wines can go, sometimes when you don't have a ton of carbonation, because there's a little bit left here, you probably can't see it, you can still be alright. So it has that rich kind of dewy water brown color that I love so much when it comes to my barley wine, especially aged ones. Not much of a head. Let's even get a nose. That's the good stuff. You know what? I think I'm lying to y'all. I just remembered. I'm pretty sure the one me and Brad did might have been in a Lagavulin cask. Well, it was an old J.W. Lee's anyway. Good story. Man, that smells really good. It has that just classic, you cannot mistake it, J.W. Lee's yeast funk. It's that their yeast profile is so imprinted with their DNA. It's not even funny. It comes off as just almost like, and I get this on fresher ones, so it's not an age thing. It's almost like an inherent must just to the yeast itself. It has this earthy, almost peat mossy kind of smokiness to it. And again, like I said, I get this from the casks, I get this from the base, I get this from newer bases, so it's not so much an age thing or a casting. It's very much J.W. Lee's and their yeast profile for this beer in particular. You know, if you get old engine oil or something along those lines, that's Harvestons. If you get any of their other beers, I forget what the other beers I've reviewed from are. Anyway, yeah, it's just inherent to this beer, and it just has this kind of, again, slightly peat mossy, slightly boggy kind of funk to it. Now, outside of that, man, it smells really good. I didn't expect it to smell this good, especially without having a hiss on there. It's definitely full-on Sugar Daddy level, but there's something else to it. It's like you made the Sugar Daddy with a little blackstrap molasses, but also you're just starting to tiptoe towards that little, not so much raisinette, but figinetti. And by that I mean raisinets is a chocolate covered raisins. This is more like a chocolate covered figgies Like think of like a Fig Newton, but a little chocolate coating over it instead of that breadiness to it. It could even be that breadiness with chocolate on top of it. I'm not going to get picky here, but it has that kind of adulty European kind of biscuity candy kind of thing going on, with that little bit of lagery funk and just this beautiful, beautiful apple brandy, Calvados Casks kind of floating around in the background. It comes off boozy a little bit, nothing too crazy, but then again, listen, this older beer, it should temper quite a bit, and it's tempered, but you can, I just rather than say boozy, you could still tell it has a heft to it. It's not burning, it's not hot, at least aromatically, and it just smells like this really old, musty, delicious book of funky, figgy, sugar daddiness with apple brandy involved. Does that sound good to you? Because it sounds good to me. Let's dive in. Cheers, y'all. I will always love these beers. And this is the thing about JWEs, because when I talk about, again, let's talk about the beer first, and then you guys can shut this off, and I can yammer about all the random shit. Mouthfeel surprisingly nice, considering the lack of carbonation here. It's not a flat beer. I'm not going to say it's properly carved, but it's not a flat beer. It goes a long way. It goes a long way to delivering the flavors for these beers, because I think flat beers like this can still be delicious, but even the slightest bit of carbonation just brings a bit more lively flavor, and it has that going for it. Again, it's a straight combination of apple mash, figginess, fig Newtoniness, fig jamminess, and Old Book. Old Book, but in that yeasty way that JW's is known to bring. It's bringing that funky Old Bookiness, musty, peat moss bogginess to it. Again, it's not overtly smoky, but it's smoke adjacent in a way that peat moss is smoky as opposed to actual smoke. There's a beautiful sweetness to this beer, but it's not even close to being overly sweet. There is this nice kind of drying out. I think it's a combination of the oxidation that's in the beer in combination with the way the yeast plays in this beer, and probably a hefty, hefty dose of hopping that has been long gone after 14 years on this beer. That just makes this what I think is an absolutely fantastic beer. But I think, to be fair, and this is me assuming, but I'm going to assume anyway, an acquired taste. I think the way these beers drink are quite a bit different than some of the beers that I mentioned. When I mentioned this beer, there's the big three in my book, which is Thomas Hardy Ale, Old Stock, JWEs. To me, those are the three-headed delicious monster of barley wine / English old ales. They're very different beers. You know, JWEs Old Stock absolutely typically needs a ton of time on it now. 2021, my Micah beer that I've been doing every year, that one drank straight out of the chute, but it's just going to get better with age. Hardy's much the same way, but a much more different beer than Old Stock. It's when they get to about double digits, 10 to 15 years, is where they really start to bisect in a similar kind of flavor profile. And that's the same thing with JWEs. You know, some of the fresher ones I've had, which are still a couple of years old, drink quite nice, but they still have that inherent JWEs yeast funk, that yeast peat mossiness, that yeast bogginess. And while that's the mainstay of the beer, it keeps with time, it's the flavors that get flushed out that are quite similar to those other beers. So that's why I say this is more of an acquired taste kind of barley wine / old ale, is that if you don't get down with that boggy funk, which is what JWEs does, I can see being turned off by it. But if you like that flavor, if you like your Scottish wee heavies with that peatiness, if you like your Islay scotches, if you like a little bit of smokiness in your beer, but you dig on the English barley wines, this is probably something that I think most people, if you've never had it before, again, we can find it quite easily. I assume that's got to be the case in a large swath of the United States. I think you'd really enjoy this. Yeah. It's a proper temp, too. I picked this up tonight, actually, off a shelf. It's probably 52 degrees, which I think is like cash money. And honestly, just An absolutely beautiful beer. I know this is a B United import, but I don't know if I see any import labels. This might have actually been imported before they had to do that, because it actually has the United States label on the back, but it doesn't say who. Oh no, it says B United in the back here, because I can't read. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, as far as aged beer goes, I think this is one of your better bets when it comes to long haul aging. And I should really do sit down and do like an aged Hardy's Lee's old stock side by side. Maybe try to find the same years. This is 2012. If I try to find an old one, it'd be like a late aughts Hardy's, because, you know, they came back in 2017, 18, 19. That would be a fun side by side to do. But in general, you know, I bought this beer for pleasure. I didn't buy it to review it, but before I cracked it, I looked at my channel. I'm like, oh, like I don't think I've ever reviewed this on the channel. So I figured I'd do a quick video. I'd go into it with all the preconceived notions. I'm gonna love it. I said that at the get, and honestly, truthfully, did not disappoint. Gave me exactly what I wanted, which is this just rich, delicious, sticky, old booky, musty, boggy, figgy apple brandy. I didn't even talk about the apple brandy portion of the show. That's probably part of the drawing to that oak tannins, because it's not a big chariness. It's more of like a yeasty, oaky, fresh oak kind of dryness, goodness of a beer. There you go. That's all. I don't know what else to say. I've had this beer so many times I just don't want to regurgitate all the same stuff and just say I love this. I think this is fantastic. If you like barley wine and English beers and old beers, you'll love this. And if you don't, I'm sorry. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. JW Lee's. This is one of the better English old ale barley wines I've had as late. Yes, Mount Rushmore status. It's on the Mount Rushmore of all time, so we're going to leave it on there and leave you with, maybe not this bottle, there's ones that have done me better than this bottle, but this series in general, and leave you with, if you like what we like, this musty old books and peat moss bogs and apple brandy barrels and barley wines and old ales. If you like that, you'll like this. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. JW Lee's. They've been to the brewery. Have you had their beers? Have you had this beer? Have you had this whole series? What have you had from this series? Have you had this year? Have you had this vintage of this particular beer? What is your favorite JW Lee's of all time? Hopefully you enjoyed our review. Hopefully enjoying a little bit of old goodness right now. Hope to see you next time. Cheers, y'all.